For years, I thought I had one giant assignment in life. Figure out my purpose. Get it right. Then everything else would flow smoothly. I treated purpose like my holy grail. In my 20s, I thought I had it all figured out, and that felt great. But then the decades passed and I changed. So I changed my life, and then I felt very lost and wasn't even sure who I was anymore. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe you feel like that right now, especially if you are in midlife and wondering, now what? I understand that feeling. I lived it for many years, and I kept assuming the problem was me. But now I know something I didn't know back then. I don't think losing our purpose is the problem. I think we forgot what purpose really is in the first place. So let's remember this. Hi, my name is Elisa and I'm the Rebel Crone, and around here we like to question everything. So let's question the definition of what purpose is. When I look back over my life, it looks like I couldn't make up my mind. I began my career with a passionate purpose, designing art-to-wear clothing and growing my own business. After 20 years of doing that, I was not so convinced anymore that this was it. So I set about finding a new purpose. The quest sent me in many different directions. I worked in the field of bioenergetic and quantum medicine. I became a ski patroller, built and managed $1 million law firm, had major spinal surgery, wrote 2 novels, started making jewelry and hats, thrown a few marriages, some stepkids, and then somehow ended up here, talking to thousands of women as the Rebel Crone. Looking at this list, I look like a woman who couldn't make up her mind. I know, I used to think that about myself too. None of my endeavors looked or felt connected. Honestly, I thought that I was simply on the search for my real purpose the whole time and just hadn't found it yet. And then something happened. I got old. It took me getting older before I could finally see what had been true the whole time, that maybe my purpose wasn't a destination after all. Now that realization dramatically changed how I viewed my past and how I was able to orient myself in a brand new present moment. Let me explain. We all know that directions are different from destinations. If your purpose is your North Star, bad news, you'll never arrive at that North Star. That is not the purpose of purpose. The North Star is there as a point of orientation. Your real job is simply to keep orienting yourself towards it. As you move through life, the landscapes will change, the mountains change. Sometimes you're walking through a forest, sometimes you're crossing a desert, and sometimes life throws a waterfall right in your path. And whether you like it or not, you're going over. Think about it. Rivers don't stop and negotiate. They don't stand on the bank saying, I don't think waterfalls are really aligned with my purpose. So then I started thinking about the flow of water in rivers. A river doesn't spend its life wondering if it's found its purpose. It simply flows. It twists, it widens, it narrows. Sometimes it disappears underground. Sometimes it crashes over rocks. Sometimes it becomes breathtaking. And sometimes it just quietly moves through a muddy field. The landscapes keep changing, but the current of the river remains true to itself. So looking back, that is how I now see what my life was like. Not 7 different lives all scattered in search of one purpose, but rather one river. I think my generation inherited an idea that has caused a lot of unnecessary suffering. We were taught that purpose was something we were supposed to find right at the get-go. Pick a career, pick a lane, Pick whether you're going to have a family or not. Stick with it. If you have to change direction, it's probably because you failed. But what if that's never how life was meant to work? What if purpose, your real purpose, isn't a thing you do, but rather the direction you are aiming? Because directions don't imprison us and they don't limit us. They guide us. Here's the part I wish someone had told me 30 years ago. You cannot navigate a boat that's tied to the dock. You can buy all the maps, read all the books, watch every inspirational video on YouTube, including all of mine, even if you can see your North Star clearly. If you're still tied to yesterday's identity, yesterday's landscape, you aren't going anywhere. So sometimes the hardest part isn't finding the purpose, it's untying the rope and pushing away from the dock. These days, people sometimes ask me, so what is your purpose? And honestly, I don't answer that question the same anymore because Rebel Crone isn't my purpose. Writing isn't my purpose. Designing clothing, hats, or jewelry were never my purpose. They were different landscapes. Same river, different landscape. The important point is that the current came first and the expressions followed. If you are in that season where you're wondering, I've raised the kids, I've retired, career is over, this chapter is over, that chapter is over, now what? And if you're feeling like something is wrong with you because you're questioning that, stop right there. Maybe you've simply reached the edge of the old landscape and are about to enter into a new one. So don't panic because the scenery has changed. Listen for the current. And what if you stop asking yourself, what's my purpose? And started asking, what's the next honest step? Rivers don't know every bend. They simply keep flowing. And maybe that's enough for us too. Because in the end, remember, the current comes first and the expressions follow. Thank you for joining me today. This is Elisa with the Rebel Crone. And as always, peace from within. That's where it begins and that's where it ends. And that's the whole journey in between. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe and leave your comment. Until next time, I'll see ya.